What's up, everybody? We've got a Hack Week overview for you today. So Sentry has an entire week, as every single year. It's called Hack Week. And during Hack Week, you are allowed to go and build absolutely whatever you want. And this is a really fun week because you don't have the pressing parts of like the rest of your business or the rest of your job sort of having to get done. You can just spend some time working on whatever it is that you want. So we all three of us did 3 totally different projects, and we're going to detail what we did just briefly here in this podcast. And then in the next 3 episodes, we're going to go a little bit more in depth, as well as provide a bit more video as to what we actually did, showing code, showing some of the hardware we worked on. Pretty fun projects. I'm really excited to share what I've been working on. I'm really excited to hear what these guys have been working on as well.
Yeah. My name is Scott Talinsky, and I gotta say, Wes, you said it's free from the normal things of work. I worked so hard on Hack Week. I was
too.
like,
I started a week before.
Oh, yeah, I noticed. I saw you posting stuff on YouTube. I'm like, Wes is starting early. This is not fair. I'm going to have to, so I did a bunch of pre-planning work for mine because I didn't want to start too early. But I worked so hard. I put in nights. I put in extra time. I was waking up early to work on it before the kids went to school. It was a long and a hard week, but honestly, the end results were pretty amazing for all of us, I think. CJ, how about you? We have, by the way, audio folks, CJ Reynolds is joining us today because Hello. He also did a great Hack Week project.
Yeah, so same experience. I think that's one of the things about being able to work on anything you want. You can pick the things that you're like really passionate about. And yeah, I got sick last week, or was that Hack Week? Whatever Hack Week was, because I'm still recovering. But I worked through the sickness because I liked my idea so much, and it was really fun.
Yeah. It does say something about motivation here.
Yeah.
We often talk about motivation on this show. It's like when you are motivated to work on a project, you will push through it and learn so much more. And I used a bunch of technologies that I was fairly familiar with, but threw them together in a way that I have not used them before. And because I was so motivated to fix this, man, it was such a joy to learn and to push through and work on all this stuff just because of the sheer motivation of it all. People out there, if you are in a place of having any sort of influence over your company, get them to set up a Hack Week. The results that came out of Sentry's Hack Week were unreal. Did you guys watch the presentations for the Sentry Hack Week?
Yeah, I watched all the Toronto ones, and there's some really cool stuff. A lot of people exploring stuff, but a lot of people simply just like fixing stuff that bugs them. Like it's just like, this has bugged me in Sentry forever. And here I just went and fixed it. I took a week and went and fixed it, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, that's way better!" Yeah.
So Sentry has awards for all of the Hack Week participants, and one of them is just ship it, and that's where people can vote on, hey, this is something we need, so ship it. And there were several in the demos that were like, yeah, this is awesome. Like this, why didn't this already exist in Sentry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is, by all accounts, projects that come out of the Hack Week every single year that go directly into Sentry, either months later, weeks later, half a year later. I mean, valuable stuff comes out of this thing.
Yeah.
There was 156 submitted projects.
That's amazing. But so we didn't actually build stuff for Sentry. We built stuff either for the hell of it because we are interested in how it works, and we get to talk about it and explain it to you, the listener. Or I know Scott built something that we've been dearly needing. So let's do this right now. Each of us can give a 1 sentence of what we built just to hook y'all.
Elevator pitch.
And then we'll go into, 10 minutes or so explaining what it is that we did. So I built a real-time web-controlled LED grid, which I have right behind me. And that was a lot of fun.
I built a real-time competitive coding platform focused on real-world user interface challenges.
Nice. And I built a custom Sega Genesis game. I'm going to swap to the camera. It's running on the Sega right now. I'll tell you all about it. But you can't see it usually because it's blurred, but there's a Sega back there, and I built something for it.
That's amazing.
Unreal. I can't wait to hear about. I don't necessarily care that much about Minor Scots. I want to know how the hell you built a Sega game. So let's start with you.
Okay,
I'm just joking. I am excited about that. But like, man, when you told us you were doing a Sega game, I was like, how do you even do that?
Yes, and that was my question too. So yeah, day one was, is this even possible? And I had a Hello World by the end of 8 hours. It took me 8 hours to get a Hello World. But the modern ecosystem for doing this kind of thing has like kind of exploded. I say modern. A lot of these tools haven't really been updated in 3-4 years, but the technology is over 30 years old.
Yeah, relatively modern, yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
So how did I do it? There is a software development toolkit called SGDK, and it allows you to write C code for the Sega Genesis. So the Sega Genesis, all of the original games that were written for it were actually written with assembly code. And so assembly code is basically exact processor instructions, and it's very low level. It's not zeros and ones, but it says like move this variable into this memory location, that kind of thing. But with the SGDK, you can write C code, and it abstracts all of that away. So for a modern developer, it's a lot more approachable. You have functions you can call that say like create a sprite and set sprite location and different things like that.
Yeah, I think my favorite assembly code video game lore is that the Roller Coaster Tycoon game was written in assembly.
Seriously?
And that's crazy.
Yeah, written in assembly by one guy.
It's the 3D game we're talking about, right? Like
Roller Coaster Tycoon. Insane.
And so day one was just getting a Hello World, and with the SGDK, it was fairly simple. They have a bunch of samples of like different kinds of things that you can do. I had the idea on day one. I proved that I could do it, and then at the end of the day, I ordered what's called an Everdrive. So this is a Sega cartridge that you can put an SD card in, and you can just put whatever ROMs you want onto that SD card, and that's how I have it actually running on the Sega.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow.
You're in deep when C is the abstraction level.
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting here writing TypeScript, which is about 14 more abstractions on top of that.
Yeah. I will say for anybody that wants to dip their toes in this stuff, it's not that scary. I think like a Hello World C program, like the main thing about C is like, it's lower level in that you have to manage memory, and there's a lot more things you have to do manually, but it's the JavaScript and TypeScript language are C-style languages. The syntax itself was informed by literally the C language. So even just looking at C code as a JavaScript developer will look somewhat familiar. It's nothing crazy. It's just you kind of have to learn about pointers and structs, which if you learned objects, you can learn those things as well.
I'm curious about the game engine side of things.
Yes.
Because your game was like a little platformer, a little Century Seer logo was bouncing around. What game engine is that?
Yes. So there's nothing official, and that was I wrote like a whole timeline of what I went through, but day 3 was where I was like, okay, I need to figure out if there's a game engine now. Day 2 was, can I just get graphics on the screen? And I ended up getting a Century logo. My idea was, so if you've ever played Sonic the Hedgehog, at the beginning of Sonic the Hedgehog, it says, Sega. I wanted to do Century with the Century logo. So day 2 was like, could I just get graphics on the screen? And SGDK made that fairly trivial, except you have to worry about memory. This thing only has, I think, is it 16K kilobytes of memory? And then the Sega itself supports 256 different colors, but there can only be up to 64 colors on the screen at a time. And then for any given tile, because it's a tile-based system, that tile can only have up to 16 colors. So learning all of that was probably the hardest part, is like figure out how can I convert my images to be just 16 colors. And then from there, if they're too big, I have to break them down so that they can get loaded onto the screen. So that was day 2. But then after I figured out all of that, I was like, okay, I want to be able to design a level and not have to like literally write zeros and ones in an array to define like collisions or where tiles should be. And so I found a project called Platformer Engine, and it's just someone that was working on this like over 5 years ago, and they tried to make it a little bit easier. So basically, they had C code for a camera, for a player, for joystick movement. So basically, all of that code was written for me, where it was fairly high level to say, move player to X location, move player to Y location. They wrote that code for me. And then they had a fairly simple level loader. So they basically had this giant image that was like a level. And then they had a C matrix, like a width by height matrix that defined where all of the collisions were on this map. So imagine like a flat tile map. And then for each tile, you can say, well, this is a ground tile, or this is that kind of thing. And so in their code, they literally had a giant array where it was zeros if they shouldn't collide, and then ones if they should collide. So one if it's ground. So they had all of that code written, and then that made it fairly trivial. So basically, they had an example map, they had the collisions, and then I could start to go in and modify things because there's for modern game development, there's a lot of tools out there for developing levels and developing tile maps. So the TLDK was the first one I came across.
TLDK. LDTK.
Yeah,
dude, I've messed that up so many times.
Level Designer Toolkit. But yeah, it's a GUI app where you can like draw with tiles and then it exports. And so this engine supported that.
Yeah.
And it made it so that I could load the map in, I could define my own tile sets, and then load that into the game.
Cool. Yeah, I explored the LDTK when I was checking out Godot. It is like, it's pretty dope.
Yeah, a lot of people use it even for building Unity games, which is, it's something to be said about like, yeah, it's 30 years later, but now I can use these more modern tools to work on such a simpler, lower level game. Yeah.
That's cool. I have so many questions just about even just storing graphics, but I'll hold it for the longer video that we do. But
yeah, we'll be doing a technical deep dive, folks. So if anybody wants to get deep onto these things, CJ, what was the end result of your hack week? How did you finished it? You made you made your video game. What did you get out of it?
Well, I'll say the end result is I only have a single level. I spent, like I said, a day figuring out graphics, a day figuring out just can I have some sort of game engine so I don't have to write all this with zeros and ones and arrays. And so on the last day, I was just scrambling to get my own custom graphics in there and my own custom level. So at the end of the day, I'll show you if you're watching on the video pod. This is the game. You are... Second, my controller needs to turn on. But you are seer, this little triangle here. And my thought is you can collect traces. So these little balls are traces. And eventually you'd be able to battle a bug boss where you throw traces at him to solve the bug.
I love it.
But this is the one level. Basically, it's just like a platformer that moves up and you can jump across. So that was my finished result. I mean, I'm not proud of the fact that I didn't get a full game. Like there's no boss level. Basically, this level is the only one. But the fact that you can create at least an entire level in less than a week these days is I think pretty impressive. But yeah, so that's the outcome. Didn't get to finish the game. What did I learn? There's so much more I want to do. One of my initial ideas was I wanted to connect my Sega to the internet just because it sounds ludicrous. Like why would you do that? But it should actually be possible. So now in my spare time, I'm gonna be looking into it because one thing I learned is the Sega controllers are actually a 9-pin serial port. So you can actually read and write data from where you plug a controller into, and that could potentially connect you to the internet.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, all right, let's save some of this for the deep dive because we're getting a little too in the weeds. Yeah.
Yes, this is cool.
Yes, we got a lot of questions. Okay, next one, Wes.
Yes,
you made something with hardware as always. This is your third Hack Week project, and all of them have used hardware. Is that correct?
Yes, all of them. The first time I did a little custom keyboard shortcut thing. Second, that did some LED lights. Last year, I did. What did I do last year?
Printer. Thermal printer.
Receipt printer. Yeah. That auto printed off like photos and videos or not photos, but photos and text from people on the internet, and it auto printed my Century issues, which was really cool. And this year I did a real-time drawing LED grid that is web controlled. So it was really cool because I had to build the whole hardware LED grid right here. I had to solder a whole bunch of stuff together. I designed a whole bunch of stuff in 3D and 3D printed it. And then I built a whole software stack. So there's a back end, which I built into Cloudflare Workers. I'll go into the weeds on that in the next video. And then I used Party Server that connected it to a React-based front end. And anybody's able to go ahead and draw on it. And like right now, there's 4 people in it right now. Which is kind of fun. I had like 80 people in it at one point, and everybody sees it. And then I wrote a whole I don't know if you call it like a reconciliation engine, but basically I wrote a whole thing on the server that would take the pixels that have changed as part of like the web app state, and then it would send it over to the grid. If you're watching the video, it looks like crap on my camera, but it looks so good in person. Like the colors are just absolutely beautiful, and I'm really happy with it. It's just very filming light is a very hard thing to do, especially when you're also trying to film yourself.
It's all light. Technically,
yes.
you're filming light even if you're not filming light, right?
But like honestly, I love doing hardware projects because it, like CJ, it gives you a bit more of an appreciation for constraints. I hit so many things that I would not necessarily hit in like a web app, just because there's limited memory, there's network latency, there's low powered processors. The thing is running on an ESP32 microcontroller. I have power constraints because turns out this is a hell of a lot of LEDs. I have a huge appreciation for it. There's you can only update it so often. I tried to do real-time video where it would take my webcam, or I did do it. It takes my webcam and paints it in real time to the LED grid. So it gives you so much more of an appreciation for people who work on hardware, where you have so many more constraints, as well as people who work in like IoT, where you're trying to connect this stuff to the internet, and you don't necessarily you can't just npm install something and slap it on like a $5 microcontroller. You're a lot more limited in things that you can touch.
Yeah.
I just want to say I love how big it is, because like I've tried to do little hardware projects with like a mini LED matrix like that, or even smaller than that, and it was a pain to get it up and going. So I can't imagine wiring. You have 6 panels or 9 panels up there?
9 panels. So this is a 16 by 16
it is big
panel. Yeah. So it's 256, and they have 9 of those, which is about 2306 or whatever. Who's good at their 16 base math? And just simply scaling it up was kind of a hard thing to do, because there are power constraints, right? Like basically the way that this works is that the power is injected in on one. I'm getting the weeds, but there's power constraints, and you can't just run a whole bunch of power right through it, right? You have to inject the power, and then there's constraints around sending a lot of 2300 pixel updates at once, and there's constraints around what's the best protocol over the network to do it. So I'll get into all the weeds there. So that was really fun. And like, this is the first like bigger project I've done with durable objects. I built 3 or 4 things here and there with it, but this was like the first time where I spent several days working with Cloudflare's durable objects. And it was kind of a fun one.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's so dope. Yeah. You took an opportunity to pick new tech or different tech.
Yeah.
Hardware, software, all encompassing. And I got to applaud that. That rules.
Definitely.
All right, let's hear what you got.
Yeah. So I made a real-time coding platform for my other hack weeks. I think they all haven't been real-time. The first one I did was like I wanted to do like a Notion replacement that saved to Markdown, so that way we could edit notes in real time but save to Markdown. I could do that so much better today if I were to take on that project again. It ultimately wasn't very successful. It worked. It like created PRs and stuff, but could have been better. The second year CJ and I teamed up and did a Tory app for our production assistant where it can create show notes and stuff. And Randy uses that app. We got to push out an update. I got a little modification I need to make to it, but it's an app. It's in my desktop right now, Syntax Production Assistant. So very successful there. And this year, I decided to take a bite off something that was kind of large and build a competitive coding platform. We do our CSS battles on YouTube, and we've often lamented that they're not real world UI. Many people in the comments have said the same thing, like, what's the point? They're writing bad code just to finish. And the point is for it to be fun. But I just was wondering, like, all right, is there another way? And then I just started getting into all these interesting ideas of like, well, what if we wanted to write the code on our own machines and have it update? So it gave me an opportunity to explore, my local data syncing system stuff. It gave me an opportunity to work deeply with the file system API, and then build a full-on ass app that has login accounts, and what my schema file is 500 lines long. So it is a legitimate application that we will be releasing here so that other people can use this and engage in battles and put together leaderboards and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that because like me and you did what was it? Like we did like a button. Like, can we build this button sort of as a CSS battle, but also like this is real world. This is something you would actually do instead of just try to put like a Pokemon ball on a screen. And I love those types of challenges as well, because you often see something cool on a website and you say, I would love to rebuild that. And I wonder how Scott would approach this type of thing. And we just use Vite locally, but it's just so much better to be able to like have like a full blown app, as well as for editing's sake, being able to see how everyone's doing all in one screen.
There's a number of benefits here, and a lot of that was taken into consideration when I was like planning this out. Like, one, we need some way to make it fun for viewers, right? Because that was the big concern. It's like, we record these things, we've done a couple of UI battles, and we're like, I guess who won? We choose who wins? Okay, that's really hard to do. So like having user voting was one thing, but like, what are they voting on? So I had voting on like most accurate, most real world code, and like how does it feel, the best feel. So users can vote on those parameters. They can use the code because the code is being loaded as not just an image, it's being loaded as code. They can use it and try it out. So voters, the audience, can now vote, and we could publish the battle results before we publish the video. Therefore, people can vote, and we can use that in the video.
Love that.
Definitely. I will say, Scott, you win the Just Ship It award for the syntax team, because this is something we need and I've wanted.
Yes.
And like, the elevator pitch is CSS battles, but real UI. And that's awesome, because I think, other people would use this too. That's some of the comments I saw whenever your Hack Week demo video was playing. People also said we could use this for interviews, like when they're hiring somebody to like build UIs, because you can see like what they're working on in real time. You can see their code. So yeah, it's an awesome idea.
Yeah, there's a lot here, a lot of fun technical challenges, and the first Hack Week I did, when I did the real time whatever, about like 3 days into the Hack Week, I was like, nothing is working out. I've changed the libraries like 8 times. I'm like struggling to do anything. And this time, by day 1, I had login. I had the whole coding interface, not like the UI for it done, but like saving files locally, saving to the data. Like, I had all of the difficult technical challenges done day 1. And then day 2 could be focused on app stuff. And then day 3 could be focused on UI. And then day 4 focused on like CSS and UI. So it was like the technical challenges portion of this got done in a way that was so acceptable so early, and that's largely a testament to the stack that I'm working in. So when we detail that stack, I'll show you guys just how simple this application is to work on, and that's one of the big reasons I was able to do so much. I built a whole ass admin interface for this thing too, which you guys didn't even see. So
it was really interesting to see the caliber of stuff that people built because they were able to use AI. It's just incredible that like like just from last year. Like last year we had AI, but like this year we have
different
people
level
just
for
like
sure.
vibe coding absolutely everything and spitting out like whole ass apps, which is wild to see. Like people are able to take their ideas, and like even producer Randy, we're gonna have a whole video. He made like a whole ass app, and it's unreal what he actually built. And like he's like, I don't know, I'm just like a video guy.
My favorite thing about
figured it
Randy's
all out.
presentation was when at the end he was like, if you want to know how any of this works, don't ask me. I don't know. And I was just like, that is so funny.
So I kind of saw it as a challenge too, because I was writing C code and like the SGDK, which wasn't that popular. Like, how well could AI actually write code within that context? And I figured out some things, which I'll share on the deep dive. Like, it wasn't perfect, and so I was also kind of at a handicap where I don't have a bunch of trained code that this thing could just generate on. Yeah, I did figure out some ways to work in older code bases with it.
I want to ask you guys about your usage of AI in this project. How much did you use AI and what did you use it for?
I used it pretty heavily for the front end. So what I had done is I had built this like real-time drawing thing, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago. And I just took that and I just said, convert it to React, right? And I built it in vanilla and it did all of that. And I leaned on it pretty heavily for the front end because I was spending so much time hardware wise, designing, soldering, building all of that stuff together. And then also like quite a bit of my time was trying to understand how to best send the data from the server diffing to the actual hardware, right? There's a lot of challenges there. So I spent a lot of my time doing that. And then being able to just like type in, make a React component that has buttons on and calls
React
server functions was so nice, because like I could have spent all week just building a straight up React app and not focused on this stuff.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It let me focus on the things I wanted to focus on. And which was like C coding and like building the game itself. So I used AI heavily, but often for like one-off scripts as well. So I needed to create a lot of assets and like convert image types. So I'd use AI to generate an image magic script that can convert images. The SGDK has resource loading. So like it can automatically turn images into the right type and stuff like that. But I also wanted it to automatically load collision maps from an exported thing. And you write that with Java. So I used Cursor to help me write all of that Java code to generate those resource importers. And then I kind of also mainly used the chat at one point to give it the context of my C code base, and then I would ask it questions. Like I didn't want it doing too much in the C code base itself, but I was just like, how do I do this? Or how would I do this? Or how would I go about this? It'd give me like 4 options, and then instead of saying, let it do it, I would go off and pick one of the options and implement myself.
Yeah, that's dope. I had a hard time using AI for anything actually code related, because, man, it's still a massive struggle to get AI to play nice with Svelte 5. It is a massive struggle. And the amount of time I spend going back and forth with it, no matter what the model, no matter how I have it set up, no matter how many times I beg it to use Context 7, it's making bad choices. So it ultimately ended up being a result where I was moving so fast coding that like it was slowing me down to have AI generate any code for me. So I mostly used AI for planning and for being like, what am I missing in this database schema? This is what I'm planning on building. Like, am I missing any indexes? Like, am I missing any relationships? What do you think I should have in here that I haven't thought of? And like, that actually was very successful because the AI was able to determine for me things like, well, down the line, you might not need this right now, but it seems like you'll probably want this at some point in the schema. I'm like, okay, I'll add in the schema, thank you. And I think that in that aspect is helpful, but coding wise, it slowed me down. This is like a really rough slog for using AI, but it was very fast to work in coding wise, so I didn't need it.
I just added a a show idea, because like that's a show in itself, is using AI for either undocumented or new libraries as well. Because like I've hit that quite a bit with like stuff where there's no prior art in using this thing.
No prior art,
and no matter how much you force feed it the docs, it just starts imagining stuff. So CJ just dropped his artwork on
it looks
on my
great.
LED grid.
Yeah, because it's pixel art, so it looks awesome. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, you're right, man. It looks so good.
What is the URL for this thing again?
Local.westboss.com. I'll explain how I just ran my local V server on my computer, and then I just proxied it out to the internet, and I had like hundreds of people. Someone started spamming it at some point, which made my internet stop working. But for the most part, it ran for like a week.
Man, so, this is so dope, Wes.
We'll deal that. We'll get a little bit more into that nice. in the following videos. Anything else to add, guys?
I don't have anything else to add. I'm really excited to share with you our full projects in a deep way. So if you are excited about that, come check us out. We're going to be doing these. They're going to be the next few episodes here, and we're going to go deep dive on technical. We're going to be showing code. We're going to be talking all things about how we made them and getting really deep into them. There's some amazing things to learn through all of these projects. So let us know what you think. Again, if you can swing a hack week at your place of work, my gosh, this was so much fun, and I do think it was so valuable. If you can get a week off to work on crazy stuff, man, the end results are really pretty impressive company-wide. So yeah, a shout out to Century for planning such a great hack week, producing such a great hack week, and shout out to everyone at Century for bringing their A game. I showed up to this thing, and Courtney's like, what are you putting so much time in? And said, I'm coming to win. I'm doing this to win. And then after watching all the videos, she was like, are you going to win? I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. Everybody was so good. It was crazy. So yeah, shout out to the whole org. Everybody rules at Century. And we will catch you in the next one, folks.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.